and welcome back to Mortals and Portals, a Pathfinder Real Play podcast. My name is... Oh, wait, what do I say? For some reason, I drug out the podcast. It made my brain skip. I am your host and GM... I got it. I am your host and GM, Zach, and joining me at the table is...
Adam, and I play Jules, an Azarketti bard.
I'm Joel, and I play Dax, a kobold rogue.
Ryan, and I play Tough, an automaton inventor.
Taryn, and I play Waltz, a human champion.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you guys used to do all the mixing up the intros, and I just wouldn't, and it just goes to show I can't handle it. My brain is like, I'm an actual robot, and I just have to say the same thing every time. I don't know how you guys do it. You're so good at it.
You're not cut out for this.
Not cut out for this line of work. But...
Hey, Zach, we brought you in today because we have to replace our GM.
Oh.
Josh, come on in.
Ryan, you're up.
This was the plan all along.
No. Let me just squash this because it'll turn into like a 2-minute
He still
thing,
doesn't let himself play.
And you guys don't even know what happened in the last episode, and then I'll still have to say it because then you guys pay attention. So, yeah. Don't forget, yeah. But
all right, Zach, you're back.
That is one requirement of replacing me is Ryan cannot play. He can play. He just can't. He can't play too much.
Being GM is the perfect way for me not to play.
Ryan gets smug when you let him play for too long. And like he sends stuff to the group text like, man, that was really fun. Or like, I can't wait till next session. And it's just like really, really gets under my skin.
Guys.
Yeah, like I love you guys. Like, you guys are my best friends. Like,
come on.
I love
really
this podcast.
Go off the handle.
Yeah. And it's like, I need you to... I need you to bring it down a little bit.
Bring it down, yeah.
For all of our sakes, you know?
I get that a lot, yeah.
And then once
trying to get work done.
And then once he does that, then we can text like, wow, that was a really fun session. Can't wait till next time. I love you guys.
I don't have time for your text telling me how good I am at certain things and how much you appreciate me.
Yeah, or like really thoughtful messages about just like...
like what are we doing here, you know?
It's kind of... Yeah. Anyways,
well,
I blocked his number a while ago, so I haven't seen any. Thanks for the feedback. We're just like the worst friends imaginable.
So that was really constructive. Thanks, guys.
Those are the reasons we use the other group chat without Ryan.
I really needed that this morning, so thanks.
No, we do have another group chat without Joel because Joel has an Android, and we just can't stand those green text messages. I was like, oh man, let's have that same conversation, but in blue. That's what we always say. Just kind of repeat it.
I'm blue, but if I was green, I would die.
To be clear, we have the same conversations. It's not like separate conversations.
Same,
If and then we designate every week who's going to be Joel. So if Joel responds, then we just add his response to it.
We call him Blue Joel.
Whenever we text what Joel says, though, we do that like SpongeBob meme where it's like capital, lowercase, so because it's in green.
It's kind of a pain in the butt, honestly.
How we hear him in our head.
It's kind of an inconvenience for us if you could just get an Apple product.
Even though it's Apple's fault that your messages are green. But yeah,
that'd be great, Joel.
Just 30 minutes
that
of
is
random.
Their entire sales pitch at this point is like people peer pressuring their friends about green messages.
100%.
And that's like the only merit they have to like sell their product. But
because on Android you can just change the color of the bubbles to whatever you want, so you can still have green text.
Oh wow! Look at
that makes
this
it
is
even
why we
better.
Have a separate
Honestly,
text
the fact that on Android you
like
can decide.
You can just. I think Ryan's are like pink on the chat I have with him.
Yeah. Nice.
You don't just get to decide what color your texts are.
No, you have to deal with it and get mad at the person who sent the text. The technology simply doesn't exist, Joel, to just change text all willy-nilly. All right?
I don't know.
I suppose next you're going to say we're going to go to like Mars or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing Steve Jobs can do about it at this point, and it's true. It is what it is.
Good
right?
point.
Yeah. Don't bring him up. He pushed his last code, and they're just like, this is it now.
Do you guys think we have any listeners left right now in this episode?
No. I kind of forgot. We're still doing the intro.
We're probably going to cut most of this.
The 30 minutes of pre-conversation of random crap that we had before this has now flowed into the episode.
Yep. All right. Well,
is this what the people want?
This is Mortals and Portals, right?
No,
I can't remember.
Not. This is not at all what they want.
Okay.
Did Taryn get to go? Wait, did Taryn go?
Yeah, he went. No, he went.
He's clearly browsing like Reddit or something right now. He is checked out as soon as we started talking about text.
I don't know if this is a situation where he's just waiting patiently again the whole time.
All right. Well, Well, what are you drinking there, Ryan?
I'll have you guess. It's brown.
Is it coffee?
Sticky.
Is it poop again?
Okay, sticky. Coke? Are you drinking like Pepsi?
Ryan, I thought you stopped doing that,
It's
man.
liquid stick.
All right.
Ryan, you're ruining this family. We told you to stop drinking poop, man.
Yeah, well, we're
Ruining
doing
this family.
This is so stupid.
tearing
What are
us
we-
I don't know.
Don't worry,
Uh,
Adam. This is all getting
so
cut.
ridiculous.
No,
That's
here's the
fine.
deal.
Okay.
Here's the deal.
I'll
We
leave
did
it
we're doing a morning recording right now, which is something we don't normally do. So we're just a little things are a little
Goofy.
different right now, and that's why you're getting a little bit of a different intro. We're all drinking coffee. It's a nice, beautiful morning.
I need a refill.
Yeah, and we're gonna play some Mortals and Portals, which is what this podcast is. It's not about technology or just random observations or just being a terrible friend. It has nothing to do with that, although sometimes that bleeds in. But yeah, last time on Mortals and Portals, let's see. Jeez. This is when you guys, you left. You went to Lego Thessi, and you decided to go to Lego Thessi because you know that you need to go figure out this keeper stuff, and you know you're probably going to have to go through a node, and there's no nodes on Ciudad de la Nubes. There is a node back in Mazivo, but the last time you guys were there, it got bombed, and you guys were like wanted, and everyone knew you had a hippogriff, and then you publicly went through an unaligned node in like the town center, basically. So you just think it'd be wise if you didn't show your face there right now, especially because you're being dropped off by hippogriffs and stuff. So you just said, hey, Benjamin, good luck with whatever you're doing. Maybe we'll see you again. We're not going back there. And you guys went to Lego Thessi. And it's because you've heard of Lego Thessi, at least, from Geldir, from Duke, like roughly where it is. And it's like a quaint town and not a lot of people go there. So you thought, hey, this will be a good place to go in. Just regroup, talk about what we're doing, try and decipher everything that's happened. You don't really know where else to go on Northall, honestly. And you guys went into a little tavern there. It's a very beautiful town. And you sat down. Who dropped all the gold? Was that Jules? Jules was flexing on everybody with a little gold piece.
Yeah, all the one gold.
Yeah, and he did it for like one drink, and the guy was like, well, geez, I got to give you more than that. So he gave you guys some steak and wine, and you guys got to sit there and enjoy a meal. People are definitely
feast.
looking at you. I mean, they're not really strangers to travelers coming through here per se, but you guys are an unusual group. You have a robotic cat, a kobold, a merman, whatever you want to call yourself, Jules, a fish boy, and then just Waltz, just looking handsome and rugged as ever. And so you guys had some eyes on you, but you guys are going over everything, catching up on stuff you learned during the fight, particularly the Alvirium, the words you heard when you went through the node and deciphered that. And Joel, just the big-brained android user that he is, he figured out that
Zach Galifianakis meme.
Yeah, he figured out that they were coordinates roughly, because you heard, let's see, what'd you hear? 7 from the sun, 13, 19, only together. So you decided that you would go to Arcta, the 7th planet from the sun, and go roughly to the coordinates 13, 19, and you would do so together. And once you guys decided on that, Tuff was like, well, hold up. There's one more thing we should talk about, Jules. This will be groundbreaking news to you. You've never heard anything like this. Get ready. Make sure you're sitting down. Here we go, Jules. Are you ready? Jules is like, yeah. And he said, just so you know, Dax killed my dad. It's this whole thing. I'm kind of mad at him about it and blah, 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 blah. And then Jules was like, yeah, I know. And that kind of just, I mean, imagine that, Imagine
imagine.
you found out. Imagine you found out your best friend or whatever just kind of knew your other friend killed your dad for like a while and didn't really say anything about it.
Yeah, Adam.
Yeah.
I mean, Jules.
Look, I'm bad at communication, okay?
Yeah. It was one of those things that kept slipping your mind, But no, like in seriousness, Jules was wanting to tell him
I
a few
blame Zach
times.
for never giving me an opportunity.
I would blame Zach
really
too
Zach's
for
fault.
retroactively making Dunadas Tuff's dad after Dax killed him and Tuff got introduced to the campaign. I would blame Zach.
That's probably kind of on me too.
But yeah, Anyways, so you guys kind of had a little bit of a tiff. Tuff had a tough tiff, if you will. And Tuff was basically okay. Too late, it's already happened. Joel's gonna cut it from he's like, I will not cut.
Joel's in control.
And then Tuff was like, you know what? I'm gonna work with you guys until I get my keeper powers, because obviously we need to do this only together. But after that, I'm doing my own thing. I'm going to go find a map. And he stood up. And that is where we ended our session. So that is where we will start our session. So Tough is walking out of the tavern on his way into the town, I presume, looking for a map or something like that. But as he walks off, Waltz, Dax, Jules, is there anything you guys want to say to each other in reaction to that? Is anyone trying to pursue him? What are you guys doing?
Jules stands up very suddenly, like the back of his knees push his chair back, and he says, "Tough, wait, let's talk about this."
Tough will just keep walking out of the tavern and turn his head back as he goes and say, "Leave me alone, Juldas."
Ooh.
Oh, that...
My friends can
That
call
hurt.
me Jules. Ooh.
That hurt.
Yikes, Ryan.
Jules' eyes go wide. That's a dagger to the heart. He kind of leans forward on the table. His eyes get a little watery, and he slowly sits back down and puts his face in his hands.
It's all right, Jules. Give him time.
Jules, it's not your fault. That's on me, man. I shouldn't have put you in that position. You guys have a long history together. I'm sure you'll get past this too, or I hope.
Me too, Dax. It's okay. A lot of things could have gone differently. You're right, Waltz. I think he just needs some time. And then I'll just kind of sit there and maybe finish my drink. But clearly Jules is like deep in thought, a little bit distant.
I know this can't be easy for you, Jules, but listen, I get it. There wasn't really a good time to bring this up. We had a lot going on.
He'll just kind of nod, but he's still very distant gaze, beating himself up pretty bad right now.
Listen, it is something that we'll have to address at some point. We got a big mission ahead, and we can't keep having all this animosity within our group. It's only going to get someone killed. Maybe it's good if he goes on his own for a while. I mean, Dax, listen, when we were in the boat, he was obviously very upset and didn't seem like he wanted any part of our team.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think I'm lucky to be alive.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't let anything happen to you if I had anything to say about it, Dax, but one thing I've learned is this much tension within a group is only going to get worse. It's either got to get resolved or we got to go our separate ways.
Zoki, this whole time you guys are talking, just has like a look of concern. Maybe as she looks out the window at Tough, doing whatever he's doing, and then back at you guys. She's felt like community and family with you guys, and it just sort of burdens her heart in a way to just see this like turmoil already within her new family, but she doesn't feel like confident enough to like speak up or tell you guys what to do. She's just listening and wishes this wasn't what was happening right now.
I don't know, Waltz. You're good with people. I don't know how you mend this. I get where he's coming from. I get why he's upset. I get why he sees me as the one who did wrong, but I don't. I'd do it again. It was Dunadast asked me to do it. I don't think I'm in the wrong here. Like I said, I get why he's upset. I don't expect him to like me or anything. I imagine even saying me brings up all sorts of negative feelings. I mean, it obviously does, but I don't know what other than time can mend this.
Waltz will put a hand on Dax's shoulder. Listen, buddy, you don't have to explain yourself. You're a massive reason we've even made it this far. And I know all of us are alive because at one point or another, you've saved us.
Thanks.
Jules will look at him, kind of snap out of it, but look at him and give him a nod of assurance. And then Jules will look back at the door that Tough just walked out of, and he'll stand up, maybe have a look of purpose, and then Jules will follow. But if they're watching him follow, he doesn't necessarily go in the same direction that Tough just did. He goes in a little bit different direction.
Like outside?
Yeah.
And Dax and Waltz, do you just continue to eat and rest in the tavern?
Dax isn't going to say a whole lot more. He's instead going to pull out Digsby's book from his bag, something that's starting to become somewhat of a comfort item or something to turn to when things get
Harry.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, get hairy or before a big event. So, Dax is just going to open his book and Dax will thumb through it, maybe stopping on some of the familiar ones he's read before, just skimming them, not really looking for any one in particular, but searching for some, I guess, solidarity in this moment.
Waltz will look to Zoki. Zoki, I don't mean to bring you in on our struggles, but what would you do?
She looks up, kind of surprised you asked her, and she hasn't been touching her food. She was scarfing it earlier, but she maybe lost her appetite with all that was going on. And she sighs and looks side to side, kind of careful before she speaks, and says,
Look, I've been betrayed before, and not that you betrayed him necessarily, Dax. I'm sorry. It's just, I don't know. I kind of resonate with Tough in the sense that I haven't really had a lot of family, you know? And when you find it, only to find out it's not real.
and she's maybe looking down at the table right now as she says that, as she sees the group already being ripped apart a little bit.
That can hurt a lot more for someone like Tough and I. So give him time and be sincere, I guess. He'll come around. He's tough. No pun intended.
Yeah, those are wise words, Oki. Thank you.
Waltz, can you roll me a perception check?
Yeah.
Or a society check, whatever would be higher for you.
Yeah, I forgot to have Path Builder up 1 second.
It's okay, buddy. It's all right.
Just got to build your character quick again.
We're not rushing you, Taryn.
We're not playing Pathfinder or anything. Okay, society. 11. Rolled a 3.
It's not a 1.
Dax, can you also roll me a perception or society?
Absolutely.
Someone who doesn't suck at rolling perception or society, can they roll it?
Someone who's got good dice.
Not much better. 17.
Okay. Dax, you can tell Waltz is actually very troubled by this. Maybe in a way you wouldn't expect. A lot of times it's like water off a duck's back with Waltz. I mean, Gelder tried to kill him a million times and he's just ready to forgive. But this is clearly something that's bothering him. Like the strength of the group is cause for concern. And in that, you realize he hasn't noticed there's been someone watching him in the bar the entire time from across the way that you notice as you see
Geldir, isn't it?
a younger looking woman, maybe about Waltz's age. She's just wearing a tank top, got some soot on her, maybe some goggles around her neck, and she just downs a shot and sets it on the bar as she gives Waltz one last look and then walks out of the tavern. But you realize like where they were sitting, they were kind of watching you guys in general the entire time, and she's left. She had dark hair and tan skin, and you could see short elf ears pointing out from under her hair, though not as long as a typical elf.
Seeing this, Dax will maybe nudge Waltz and say, "Do you notice that lady over there?"
What? Where? And I'll look around.
Dax will point to where she was sitting. She was sitting over there. Is an elf lady.
Oh no! If you,
just
I
left.
mean, yeah, go talk to her if you're into her, Dax.
No, Waltz. That's... What?
Have confidence, man.
Listen, you're a great guy, Dax. Any woman would be lucky to have you.
No, Waltz, stop. That's not what this is. I'm just weary of anybody who seems to be investigating us too closely. I mean, especially after how Mazevo must be thinking about us. There could be a bounty on our heads for all we know.
Yeah, I mean, we do stick out like a sore thumb, though, Dax. So I'm sure people will be glaring at us.
Man, I don't know what to do with that information.
Because I do think, like, even like Zach said earlier, like we are very different looking here. So I guess I wouldn't.
Yeah, Dax, especially with how high your perception roll is, I'm not necessarily saying like this was a bad thing. It's just you noticed a person seemed to be looking at you guys, which wouldn't necessarily be that strange. I think Dax is right to be skeptical. Like, I think your response is correct, but I don't think you rolled in such a way where you for sure know their intent. So
I would agree. Yeah. With that, Dax is just going to kind of catalog it and move on. Not, I don't think he's suspicious necessarily. Not enough anyway to like try to follow her or anything like that. But just noting that they're maybe starting to get noticed.
Hey, and Dax, how many moments do we get like this where we can finally take a breath, have some food, relax? Maybe.
No joke.
Maybe we enjoy it.
Jules, can you roll me a perception check? Try not to
Yeah, I
suck
guess.
like Waltz.
I got a 19.
Ooh, that's not too bad.
Cool.
Jules, you step outside of the tavern. Maybe as you stand there on the porch for a second looking for Tough, you see a young woman maybe brush past you in a tank top with a long flowing dark hair that just kind of hangs freely, some goggles around her neck, starts to walk off. Don't think much of it. Look for Tough in the crowd of people And you see him, he's clearly cranky. He maybe grabs a person by their collar and starts to ask if there is a Pathfinder nearby.
Hey, you. Any Pathfinders around here? You know what that is?
What the? You see one of the elves, you're like tugging at his pants, looks down at you, confused that a robotic cat is talking to them. And they maybe have someone with them. They look at each other a little bit shocked, and they're like, oh, yeah, over there, Dirudel's cabin. And they just point. And Tough, you look over your shoulder and just see a very pristine looking cabin on the edge of the town. And it's just beautiful shutters, a beautiful garden around it. Every single flower is basically the same height, a good mixture of colors. There's a little porch outside of it with a older looking elf sitting in a rocking chair, just enjoying himself, maybe stirring some wine in his hand as he looks at his garden.
Should have guessed it. Freaking nutcases, these Pathfinders. And I'll make my way towards that cabin.
All right, so Jules, you see Tough storm off to this cabin. Are you just going to kind of wait maybe on the porch of the tavern or kind of mingle elsewhere until he comes out, or what are you doing?
Yeah, if there's a bench nearby, I'll probably sit down. That's kind of what I was thinking Jules was going to do. He just needed to be alone to like gather his thoughts and also, kind of see where Tough was going. So now that he knows where Tough is, actually, maybe if there happens to be a bench or something.
But yeah, you could sit on a bench outside the tavern area and kind of keep eyes on where he's at.
All right. Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, so Jules, you sit down. You do notice that, like, as an Azarketti, people look at you maybe for a moment, but not in a way like they don't know what you are, or they've, like, maybe never seen one. Or you can tell the people around here, especially elves, it's just kind of an elvish cultural thing to take pride in knowing a lot of maybe what's going on around Keldora, and just to be educated, and then also to kind of act like you've been there sort of thing when they see people from around Keldora, so they're not going to like gawk at you or like ask any weird questions, so you don't really like feel out of place here necessarily. Yeah, so you're just enjoying your time on the bench. It's a beautiful day. It smells like spring, birds chirping, nice gentle breeze. Good mix of trees blocking the sun. You're not getting like baked or anything. It just feels really, really nice and Tough. You approach this cabin, and like I said, there's just a older looking elf. He's got some deep wrinkles in him. For an elf, that could mean he's like hundreds of years old, and he's just sitting on his porch, maybe stirring some wine loosely in his hand. He maybe has some gardener's clothes on, maybe a little bit of dirt on them. Kind of smells like almost maybe fresh cut grass as you approach his cabin, and you can tell he's just admiring his lawn with pride. Almost doesn't even see you as you walk up.
I walk up and then just kind of stand there for a moment and then maybe try to follow his gaze for a sec to see what he's staring at, and then just look back at him. Hey.
Yeah, he opens his eyes really wide for a second, like you just interrupted a very good stare that he was having. And God. He takes a big breath in and then realizes he's looking too high and then looks down. Can I help you?
You're the Pathfinder, right?
Yes. And he's just rocking in his chair gently as he stirs his wine. So, real quick, Ryan obviously knows what this is because we talked a little bit about it. But in this universe, in Keldora, a Pathfinder, sometimes called a Wayfinder or a Navigator, is simply someone with the know-how, so the knowledge, the books, the resources to plot out courses through nodes across various planets. And you know that this service is like a highly intricate thing to do, because sometimes to get from one planet to another, you actually need to go through several planets and know how long it takes to get from one node to the other, the nuances of what regions are dangerous to travel through, how long it might take. So they need to know logistical things, political things, interterrestrial navigation, all sorts of things. And books on this aren't like mass printed or anything, so the books are expensive and all this and that. So Tough, you've maybe done some back alley node travel before, or like been in a hub of a city where everyone just knows that this node is about to go somewhere and then you go there. But you know that if you're doing long distance travel, it's well worth the coin to have someone who knows how to do it. So you are wise to seek him out.
Well, then you should be able to help me. Are you open, or are you doing one of those like siesta things they do in some places now?
Well, I'm always open. Where are you trying to go?
Arcta, but I may have some coordinates if we're able to get as close to those as we can.
Octa. Tilts his head and raises his eyebrow. You can tell he's intrigued by this.
Yeah.
Where is your owner? I should deal with them.
Nobody owns me but me.
Your creator?
Now that's a longer story. Look, if this is a business, can we just get down to business?
Very well. I can appreciate you aren't programmed for small talk. And he stands up, maybe hear his knees pop a little bit as he stretches. And he says, this way. And he walks in and opens his cabin door and walks inside.
Tuff will just roll his eyes at his comment and follow him in.
As you walk in, you can tell this cabin is just very pristine. Like, not a single thing is out of place. All the lines just run parallel. There's a good amount of open space. There's no dust on the floor. And you see many trinkets around the cabin that would indicate he's been to a lot of places around Keldora. You may vaguely recognize some pottery from Desolus adorning his shelves, a cluster of unaltered sun shards still in the stone that they inhabited as like a centerpiece in his table, glowing dimly. A large scale hung on his wall that's probably from a dragon turtle or something like that on Aquaria, and antique dwarven axes hanging over his fireplace, likely from Norvik, and various other trinkets scattered around the room as he walks towards his bookshelf and is just searching with his finger.
Tuff is actually pretty intrigued by all this stuff that he's collected and is maybe kind of trying to take a close look but not make it seem too obvious. And then the sarcastic part of him goes, well, if the pathfinding thing doesn't work out, you could open an antique store.
Oh, these are priceless, as he's just scanning his bookshelf.
Priceless, you say? And then Tuff's greedy little fingers kind of twiddle a little bit.
He stops, like, with his fingers scanning along the books and then looks over his shoulder with a raised eyebrow at you. He can pick up on the not-so-subtle deviousness in your voice.
And then Tuff will just, like, hold his hands behind his back. Anyway, yeah, about Arcta.
And then he slowly looks back to his bookshelf, maybe cracks a smile to himself, and then pulls several books off the bookshelf, some of which are very large and heavy looking, and he plops them down on his table. And then he looks at you and he says, "Now, I'm sorry, I must ask before I proceed. You do have coin with you?"
Yeah. Look, try to make it as cheap as possible.
Well, standard rate for one destination would be 10 gold. If you want any auxiliary plans, backup in case you do miss a node, that'll run you another 5 gold per branch.
Sheesh, 5 per branch? Are you kidding me?
No. He just looks at you like, I'm not going to waste my time if that's a problem.
Freaking monopoly pathfinders in this town. All right, fine. But don't go giving me any weird pathways, okay? The most direct one you can find.
I assure you, I will not waste your time. And he flips open the books and he's searching. And he says, so, where on Octa?
Well, if you can find the map in that book. The coordinates are 1319.
Standard units, I assume?
Probably.
Okay, he flips. And then he expands it and then turns it like landscape style, the way like the map is running in the book. And he looks at it. So, Tuff, you would know. And this is also just to kind of get the drop some lore here. Each planet in Keldora is roughly the size of Mercury, and when viewed on a flattened map is divided into a 500 by 500 grid, with each unit representing approximately 20 miles, making the circumference of each planet about 10,000 miles. A single unit is considered to represent a day's travel on foot across even terrain for an able-bodied traveler. Roughly 2 units can be covered in a day using a mount, depending on the mount, of course, and the terrain. Applying coordinates to a map is simple. The first digit represents latitude, horizontal movement, and the second represents longitude, vertical movement. A positive latitude number represents anything east of center, and negative is west. A positive longitude number represents anything north of center, and negative is south. More precise coordinates or directions may follow a set of these coordinates for more regional maps when referencing an entire planet. However, this is how it is applied. The coordinates of 13 and 19 equate to 13 units east of center and 19 units north of center. And as you're scanning the map and you see his finger following those coordinates and tapping roughly where it lands on,
He says, well, you are in luck since there is a node near these coordinates. And he kind of gestures you in so you can look at it. And you see a marking for a node, and it rests within a region called Inuari. And as you're looking at this, maybe getting your bearings of where this is on Arcta, you see him pull out another book that he's flipping through. Inuari. And he pauses, and you see him reading to himself, and he looks at you with a raised eyebrow. Are you sure you want to go here?
Can Tuff make a roll to see if he knows anything about Inuari, just from having been well-traveled?
Sure, yeah.
What would that
You could
be?
roll me a nature check.
Nature?
Yeah.
Okay. 13.
I would say no, not really. Arcta, in most cases, is the planet that people know the least about. It's just like nobody wants to go there. It's cold. It's far out there. Traveling is just the worst. So it's probably like a planet you just wouldn't really know a lot about, especially when you get to like specific regions. So to you, it just sounds like another word. You know, they all kind of have a similar sounding style and doesn't really stick out to you. But you get the sense that he knows a little bit about it as he just flipped to a book and was clearly reading something about it.
Can't say I've made it out to Arcta too often, but unfortunately it's a necessary trip. Why?
All right. Well, don't have much on it, but I will read to you what I have. Inuari, translated from Octan to common, means the spirit trees. Curiously placed amidst a barren stretch of deep snow, powerful wind gusts and frequent blizzards, known as Kovakan, the pine forest of Inuari often appears as a haven. However, legends indicate it is far more treacherous than the wasteland it resides in. Given the region is largely avoided in general, as well as most information being received second-hand through stories far past their origin, little is known of Inuari. The legends claim the forest itself is shrouded in illusions that cause those who enter to wander aimlessly before emerging, with little memory of how or where they traveled. Other tales claim it harbors foul and unusual beasts. For this reason, the node within Inuari is considered inaccessible by Pathfinders. It is best to avoid the region unless you have a profound purpose and are highly capable. And he looks at you and he says highly capable, as if he's not too impressed by what he sees.
Jerk.
And then he sets the book down and lets you read it for yourself. But it's a very short passage, and not much is known about this region.
Tuff will, again, roll his eyes, but ignore his comment and maybe just kind of look over the passage he was looking at and kind of rub the back of his neck. That sounds like a huge pain in my tail. Anything safer we can go into near these coordinates?
Well, take another look. What I'm saying is, Inuari is where these coordinates reside. You are lucky there is a node inside Inuari, so you don't have to travel elsewhere in Arcta and make the trip yourself. Like you said, you haven't been to Arcta before, but let me tell you, traveling there is...
Cold, I get it.
Yes, cold and other things.
Well, I don't have a choice. So, any direct paths there?
One moment, and you see him take out another book, and he opens it, and it's just a ton of tables in it. Like, it's the driest looking text you've ever seen, and he pulls like a little magnifying glass up to his eye just so he can read like how fine this text is, and he's flipping and jotting notes down on pieces of paper. He maybe lowers the magnifying glass from his eye, realizing that you have nothing to do while he does this, and he goes, "Would you like some wine?"
Tuff knows that this is the more extensive part of pathfinding, finding all these different paths that you might have to go down to find where nodes align and such. So he'll have just started kind of like wandering around the room looking at these trinkets, and he'll just say, "No, I'll take a pass on the wine. Got any coffee here?"
He raises his chin and kind of smirks to himself, and he says, "Well, of course, I do. I trust you know how to make it." And he just gestures over to basically like a French press over on a stove.
Not well, but yeah. Oh yeah, and what's with this place and wine?
He just kind of looks confused when you say that, and he says, "You prefer another drink?"
Well, yeah, coffee, of course, but you've got wine, the tavern's got wine, barely even sundown.
"Well, we have a nice vineyard nearby." He's like barely paying you any attention anymore as he's like looking with his magnifying glass on all of the tables in the book. You can tell he's kind of slowly tuning you out.
Right, vineyard. Tuff will kind of like side-eye him a little bit and take a closer look at some of these trinkets that he's got along the wall. Is there anything that looks particularly interesting to Tuff?
I would say there's just a lot of trinkets from basically all over Keldora. You get the sense that this elf
has lived a long and traveled life. He doesn't have anything that's like, oh, I need to take that because it's this insane weapon or anything like that. It's more just cultural snippets of the places he's been. The dragon turtle scale on the wall is probably like the most insane thing you've seen. It's not like a full scale, but you've been on Aquaria, know they have kaiju, and the fact that this guy has a scale from one is pretty insane. It's probably like the coolest thing in his cabin. And at this point, you're maybe sipping some coffee. You've been waiting like 10, 15, 20 minutes. And so Tough, you also do kind of have some time to process the conversation you had with Jules and Dax and Waltz, because Dirudel is no longer speaking to you as he's just doing a bunch of calculations off to the side.
Yeah, as Tough's mind kind of drifts off to that conversation eventually, I think he's still just so angry in his head and is unable to justify Jules or Dax's actions, and thinking about it just starts getting him angrier and angrier, and he feels himself tighten his grip on the mug that this elf gave him, and decided to just shake his head and stop thinking about it.
And maybe you get saved from that as you start to drift down that line of thinking, and as Dirudel says, all right, I think I have it.
Sheesh, about time. And I'll hop off the stool or whatever I was on.
And you see he's like wrapping up some sketches on some parchment as well. And you maybe go around the other side of the table, and as he just exhales, this would have been much simpler if Mandaru wasn't a war zone currently. Damn imperialists.
Yeah, totally.
Also, was I correct to assume your party has not been granted citizenship by the Fangdom?
Well, let's get one thing straight. They're not my party, but also, that's correct.
No matter. Although you will have to travel at a brisker pace, this route is far more scenic, and we'll get you there at nearly the same time. And he pulls out an itinerary and he slides it before you. It's just like so much information, like instantly, and he just dives straight into talking as like soon as he hands it to you. And he's also, as he's speaking, placing hand-sketched maps before you, like for regional locations that are really like streamlined and simple. You can tell he wouldn't like give you his maps because they're like expensive and hard to get. But if he's like telling you how to get from point A to point B in a specific spot, he also provided like a hand-sketched map of just like the key points, and immediately starts talking. First, you will go to Fallbrook, a halfling town just south of Greenshire. It's a 4 days wagon ride north. I recommend you stay at the Underhill Inn, and if your party partakes, do be sure to try a pint of their local ale. It's quite good. The townsfolk are a hospitable bunch, provided you don't bring any trouble with you. On the 5th day, just after sunrise, you will take this node. It will send you to Aquaria, to an island called Andigos. Stay at that node. Kick your feet up and enjoy the beach, because the same node will align again at noon the following day. Do keep in mind the days are shorter on Aquaria, so don't get too ambitious with the time you have. I would also mention, as far as Aquaria goes, Andigos isn't much for pirate activity, but I'd advise you keep your head down while you're there. Oh, and hide your valuables if you can. This alignment will send you to the region of Twinland on Mortivar, which is so far unbothered by the war. The node will place you 2 days south of Macropoli, a beautiful elvish settlement on the coast of Langland. I have a cousin there that runs a ferry service named Caladrid. Tell him Dirudil sent you, and he will give you a 20% discount on a ferry to Deerholt. Eisenhelm ships occasionally patrol the channel, but they never pay Caladrid any mind, so there shouldn't be any issues. The voyage will take half a day, after which you have a 3-day hike inland to catch a node that will align 4 days after landfall, so do not delay. Deerholt's wildlife is mostly harmless, but beastskin live amidst the forest and do not take kindly to outsiders disrupting their lands, so I suggest you bring any provisions with you and avoid hunting altogether. Finally, Deerholt's node will send you to Inuari on Octa. It will be dusk when you arrive, so ensure you are prepared for sub-zero temperatures. Octa has the longest day-night cycle in all of Caldora outside of Drakis, so it will be a while before you feel the sun again. I'm sure my cousin will be able to supply you with cold weather gear before you depart Macropoli at a reasonable price. Should you want to leave Inuari, which I suspect you will immediately, the nearest settlement is a 10-day trek west to a town called Mikulu. There are not any nearby waterways or iceways depending on the day, but it says here they have direwolf sleds. I'm sure they have a Pathfinder there if needed as well. All in all, you will be in Inuari within 12 days. I will supply you with alternate routes should you encounter any trouble, but do your best to stick to this itinerary because depending on which node you miss, it will cost you anywhere from an additional 21 to 497 standard days to reach your destination. If you miss 2 nodes, you will need to find another Pathfinder unless you want to pay for a more exhaustive plan. I assure you, there is no safer and more efficient route than the one I have described. Any questions? And it was just like this huge dump of information that he spoke at like lightning speed as he was just putting all these papers in front of you.
Tough will know that he has to pay attention to this stuff and tries to absorb like as much of it as he can because he knows internode travel can be pretty complicated. But can I do any sort of check to see, how legit he is, or if I can do a lie to me or anything like that?
Sure, you could roll is it just perception as insight? I forget. Yeah. You could roll perception if you just want to get a vibe for how trustworthy he sounds, or you could also do a society check if like basically everything about the regions he said sounded legit to you, or a survival, whichever one, any of those 3 that you think you'd roll best.
Society sounds like something up Tuff's alley that I don't get to roll often.
All right, do it. It's because I forget it exists all the time.
25.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you can tell like you've dealt with a few Pathfinders, and this guy sounds like legit. Like you have the utmost confidence. He just gave you the best route possible. And the branching alternatives he gave you seem like really thorough as well, because that's the worst part. Like when you miss a node, because basically every part of the plan is like no longer viable and you got to break off. And each node has its own branching options. And you can tell he's like very, very thorough. In fact, you feel like he even went above and beyond for the price that he offered you with some of the branching alternatives. And all the stuff he said about the regions you're going through sounds correct. Like he gave you good advice about avoiding the Beastkin and Deerholt, and knowing that their channel is patrolled by Eisenhelm as you go from Acropoli to Deerholt. And like all these things, like you can tell that this guy is good at what he's doing.
Wow, who would have thought this backwater town would have some Pathfinder that was so worth the price?
He raises his chin kind of with pride, even though it doesn't mean too much to him coming from an automaton, like the way he would view you. He literally thinks you're just like a program construct talking to him. But even still, he'll take it. And then he looks at you and he says, well, whenever you and your masters are done traveling Keldora, I hope you can find a backwater town to retire in.
Well, Tough does that like cat gag thing when he says masters. Just out of curiosity, if somebody wanted the most unpleasant way off Arcta, what might that path be?
I assure you there's nothing more unpleasant than just staying on Arcta.
That's a good idea too, Tough sort of says to himself.
He looks very concerned. He doesn't really know what you're saying. And then
he thinks I'm like going to leave my master there.
And Tough, maybe as that's going on, you're digging out 15 gold out of your pouch and putting it on the table with just the utmost confidence that you got exactly what you paid for and then some. And he shuffles it into his pouch and starts to close his books and says, help yourself to another cup of coffee before you leave, as he puts the books away.
Tough will take one last look at all the trinkets around the room and think about how a version of him would have probably tried to steal one of those things, but thinking about how he's trying to be a better person, and maybe even thinking of how Jules has tried to steer him in a positive direction lately with not asking for treasure from La Ciudad de los Nubes and those sorts of places, will set the gold on the counter and then even just take out an extra piece for the man having been so helpful and place it on the table, say, keep the change, and walk out.
Wow. He looks back and sees it and gives a subtle head bow. Come back anytime. And then as he turns away on his bookshelf, he goes, if you survive. As he just like put it away that you definitely didn't hear him say, but. All right, Tough. You stroll outside, maybe feeling, I don't know, good. That was like kind of a fun, and like that's the sort of thing Tough enjoys is, although the guy was a little not acknowledging your sentience, as far as in your experience goes, that was pretty kind. Like the guy wasn't that rude to you.
Tough's been through worse.
Yeah, exactly. And you enjoy collecting maps and charting courses, and you've been on Lorthal for a long time now, and you're just ready to go somewhere else, however dangerous it may be, and maybe for a moment kind of forget the interaction you had with Jules. And you did just describe a pleasant memory of Jules, so maybe for a brief moment you forgot that happened. And as you go down the steps, you realized you just walked past Jules leaning against a post on the deck, who was waiting for you to leave.
I think as Tough realizes that he just walked by Jules, like sort of almost makes a like head turn in his direction, but then realizes what he was about to do and just turns his head back forward and continues walking.
Tough, please, can we talk?
And Tough like picks a fingernail into his ear and goes, ugh, annoying bug in my ear or something, and tries to like flick it out.
Dang.
Jules will follow him, maybe even walk in front of him to try to stop him. Tough, please, just give me a moment, and then I'll leave you alone. I promise.
Jules, what part of me being mean to you in the tavern made you think I wanted to talk to you more?
If you think that you being mean to me is enough to stop me, then you've severely underestimated my tolerance of you.
Yeah, well, lucky you won't have to tolerate me anymore, and I'll kind of shove you as I try to continue walking.
Tough, that's not what I meant. Please, just a moment. Give me 2 minutes.
Oh, only 2 minutes, huh? Well, you couldn't spare me 2 minutes in the last few weeks to tell me that Dax killed my dad. Why should I give it to you now?
That's fair.
Yeah, fair.
I have something I need to say, and then if you never want to see me again, we can go our own way.
Well, you got about as long as it'll take me to get to the general store.
Yeah, Jules will keep up with him. Do you remember Tidefall Cove?
That dump? How could I forget?
Do you remember what happened?
Which time?
The first time.
Yeah, I remember. You got cut. Blood all over the boat.
Aye. It was shortly after you and I met. It was amongst the first heists we'd ever done. I had that deep gash on my shoulder. You poured that god-awful salve on my shoulder. You said it might sting. Didn't even flinch when those smugglers were closing in. You could have run tough. Could have left me to either be captured or bleed out. But you came back. What was it you said? Pirates don't leave crew behind. That day is special to me. It was the day I knew that we'd be mates for life. Tough, look, I know I've damaged your trust, and I hope it's not too late for me to regain it. I don't expect you to forget, but maybe one day you can forgive me. I can promise you one thing. I'll never leave you behind. Jules will lift his sleeve up, and on his shoulder, you can see like this pretty gnarly scar across it. And over that scar is a tattoo of the high wind just sitting on some calm water with like a sun behind it. So it's kind of more of a silhouette. But on that silhouette is Jules and Tough, a cat-like figure just sitting on the boat, cheersing some rum. So he'll show that to Tough, and Jules will attempt to hug Tough then.
Tough will have kind of paused for a second after his story and maybe even held his forearm where he's got the compartment that he opens, because he too potentially has like something he's scratched in there of just a, dumb little doodle of the Highwind versus maybe a higher detailed tattoo that Jules would have had on him. And then as Jules kind of goes in to hug him, Tough will just turn and put his hand on Jules and push him away. If the point of your story was to prove that I'm a better friend than you, well, you succeeded.
Damn.
Your promises mean nothing to me now. And Tough will just push him away and make his way onward.
Jules will nod his head. Doesn't know what to say. I guess he'll just walk away.
As Tough walks away, trudging along, he'll just turn his head back, kind of not caring, and say, "By the way, I've got our path from the Pathfinder. Just be ready to go in the morning. Tell the rest of Digsby's poo, too."
Dang it. What an image. What an immature diss. Just throw a little temper tantrum.
Yeah, Tough's proud of that one.
All right, well, so Tough, you basically storm off and coordinate everything, like get like provisions from the general store and secure a wagon in the morning. Digsby's crew, or poo, or whatever you want to call him, basically has received that information and just decides to stay at that tavern for the night. It's probably a somber mood the rest of the night. You guys maybe enjoy some time in the tavern, eating, maybe talking a little bit, but there's not really that full-on camaraderie feel. You guys enjoy your rest for the night and wake up in the morning. Tough's probably already up outside, bantering with the wagon driver who's going to take you to Fallbrook, which is all part of Tough's itinerary that he may or probably hasn't communicated fully to you guys.
How could you have said 3 gold yesterday and it's 5 today?
Well, I'm expecting some weather up ahead. I don't know. And I got another offer to go south, and if you want me to take you, it's going to be 5.
Sheesh, this place is bleeding me dry.
And maybe the rest of you, after grabbing a bite to eat in the morning, step out and are preparing to go on the wagon. Waltz, can you roll me another perception check?
Yes.
And you're feeling well rested. I'll give you a +4 circumstance bonus.
Damn, it was almost a nat 20 and it rolled to an 8. 16.
With the +4?
Oh, 20. Non-nat.
Dirty.
20. Yeah.
Waltz, you're maybe feeling a little burdened by all this you've communicated that Waltz is just concerned for the group, maybe just looking at everyone's faces because you're very emotionally in tune with people, just seeing what the vibe is. And as you're looking around, you see a young woman standing there with the black hair that I mentioned earlier and the short elf ears and the tank top. And she has her hand on someone's shoulder. And you see Geldir standing there with his head hung a little low, looking a little shy. His nose is looking much better. It's not bruised. And the woman nudges Geldir in the back, encouraging him. And he looks at her, whispering something, and steps forward, maybe with his hands in his pockets. And you see him walking up towards you. What do you do?
Am I sitting right now? What am I doing?
You're probably just standing out in front of the tavern, getting ready to get in the wagon and stuff like that.
All right, Waltz will maybe be carrying a couple packs or whatever gear. Look over to Geldir, notice him, take a deep breath, lower his shoulders, look back to the work that he's doing, drop the bag down or load the bag, and just watch him as he approaches.
I kind of feel like he's approaching just like that King of Queens meme where the guy's kind of got his hands in his pockets. Yeah, just like, just kind of like, hey, buddy, sort of deal. And he's walking up, and this woman is behind him, maybe a few paces behind. You get the sense that she's there for emotional support, and she looks very friendly. She's smiling, very happy. And Geldir scuffles up.
Hey, Waltz. Can't say I'm surprised, but I didn't think I'd be seeing you again so soon.
Yeah, it seems like we always run into each other, huh?
Yeah. And he looks at all of Digsby's crew loading things into the wagon.
You're all still up to no good, I see.
What do you want, Geldir?
You can tell he almost just wants to exit this conversation now, like the second you said that. This is so counterintuitive to how he likes to communicate, especially with you. And he maybe looks over his shoulder like he's going to walk off, like, look, I tried kind of thing. And then who you're now gathering is his daughter, tilts her head to him and like, go on. And he looks back at you.
Waltz, I've been talking a lot with my daughter since I've been back.
And it's kind of interesting to you to get that actual confirmation that he didn't make his daughter up this entire time.
Yeah. Waltz will just quickly look over to his daughter and give her a kind nod.
She gives you another kind nod. Like she knows, she's probably talked with him and knows that you're the reason he's alive, no matter how he tries to spin the story.
We've been catching up and whatnot. She's a lot smarter than I am. Something she got from Venna.
His wife and her mom.
Yeah.
Of course. Anyways, she...
You can tell this is like hard for him to say.
helped me realize I owe a lot to you. I tried to... He maybe looks around, making sure no one's just like standing right there. Kill you so many times I've honestly lost count, and now that my nose is healed a bit,
and he maybe gestures towards it, it still looks terrible, but like he's not like bleeding out of his nose anymore.
Waltz will kind of, I don't know what you call like the, like it does look better, you know?
Yeah. I guess I don't have any more reason to hate you. You kept me alive, and because of that, I've been reunited with Elle.
And he gestures towards her.
It's all I ever wanted. I don't know exactly what you want in life, other than being insufferably kind, but I wanted to do what I can to keep you alive as well. So maybe one day you can find your own peace.
And he gestures to his daughter, and then she bends over and picks up a crate, maybe walks up, sets it on the ground, and she gives you like a big hug. It's like a tight hug.
Waltz will be taken back real quick and not really react to that, be a little tense, and slowly let his guard down and give her a gentle hug in return.
She kind of just, while she's hugging you, whispers in your ear,
"Thank you."
And she stands back and says,
"I know my dad's not, well,
just kind of gestures to him and doesn't really say anything more specific."
No, I know. I know.
And she says, "But after hearing what he told me, I don't think there's anyone else in Keldora that would have kept him alive but you. And I just thank you for that." And she gives you a pat on the shoulder too. You can tell she's kind of like Like she seems tough, and that makes sense because she grew up without parents, and she's like a blacksmith, is what Geldir essentially told you. And then she steps back, not wanting to drag this out, maybe even for her father's sake, and she just gestures to the crate.
Waltz will curiously look at the crate, look back and forth, curious between Geldir and El, and open the crate.
Maybe as you're looking curious, Geldir's like, "Come on, I'm trying to do something nice here. Just open it."
Yeah, and I'll open it and look inside.
And as you open it and you're looking through and sifting and kind of gathering what this is, Geldir maybe bashfully is like, "It's been a while since I've smithed something. Elle and I worked on it together shortly after I got back, to spend some time together and try and recapture my old skills. It's a little rough around the edges, and everything that's good about it is because of Elle, but it should hold up just fine, even with all the trouble you get in." Maybe as you unwrap it, you notice this is a full set of plate armor.
Oh,
Let's go.
Yes!
That
I was expecting
Geldir
cabbages.
and his daughter smith together. It is a little
That was
rough,
hilarious.
like he mentioned. So basically he did it just to bond with her and kind of get his smithing skills back. And she did her best to kind of fix up some of the spots he may have botched a little bit. It's not like the most pristine armor you've ever seen, but it's like one of those it'll do kind of things.
Waltz will look surprised and thankful. His guard's definitely let down, and he'll continue to almost just admire this armor and think about the nice gesture that this is.
And as you're studying it, Geldir goes, "Oh, and Elle is a rather talented runesmith. Once I heard you were in town, I asked her to enchant it, make it a little more personal. I know you like to improvise, so if you think of another piece of clothing while wearing the armor, it'll transform to match your vision.
Whoa.
Probably
Sick.
would have helped you convince Captain Nelly you actually were a Drake Knight. Better late than never, I guess."
That's awesome.
Ha, yeah. And Waltz will crack a smile and look up to Geldir. Yeah, that might have helped, huh?
"Yeah, probably. I think it turned out just fine, though." And he gives you a smile. Crooked tooth grin that he has.
Walt thinks of his dead friends.
Well, in general, he defeated Sindor. It's fine. It's fine. And maybe as he says that, he puts his arm around his daughter, kind of thinking of that. And then even gestures to your friends that you have with you. He doesn't know you guys are fighting because Tuff's a little sassy boy.
Thank you. Thank you both. And Geldir, I'm happy you found what you were looking for. And I'll look to Elle and give her just another genuine nod.
"Thanks, mate. I hope you find what you're looking for, too." And he just takes a couple steps back, gives you a little smile, and walks off. You maybe grab the crate and load it into the wagon. And the wagon driver says, "Whoa, dude, this is too much weight. That'll be another gold. You're gonna wear my horses out. Where's the robot? Hey."
No. 5 gold is 5 gold. Weather or crates or whatever be damned.
And you all pile into the wagon and head off on your trip across the nodes to the unknown of Arcta. And that is where we'll end our session.
That was a sweet ending.
That was a fun
That was.
one.
We don't
That was a
get
good
we
one.
don't get very
Nice.
many sweet endings.
That was a
No.
nice play session.
Usually
yeah.
it's like here's something for you guys to deal with. And
Right.
Wait, guys, we forgot to invite Geldir to come with us.
Yeah, let's
already
add
got
one
Zoki.
more.
Gosh
Zoki's
darn
there,
it.
don't worry.
Wait,
I
can we
forgot about her when
rewind?
she's there. Come on, Geldir. He's like, "No, I just got back to my daughter. you freak." Wait, hold on. What are you doing, Adam?
Nah,
Adam,
you're
what are you
fine.
doing? Shut up. Shut up,
Oops.
dude. Okay,
yeah, it was
I see
just
what you're
Adam,
doing.
not me.
I love talking about the episode, which is something we do in the downtime. But you always like try and get me to do it in the episode, and it's like, do you hate the patrons? Do you not want them to hear it? You just
No.
he did. He
Oh,
told me.
God.
I'm just saying.
No,
Adam
he did.
hates the patrons.
Adam hates
No,
the patrons. Adam
guys.
hates the patrons.
No, I don't.
Adam
Stop
hates
it.
the patrons. Just kidding. Just
No.
kidding. Just kidding. We all love the patrons. Just kidding. Please, we need you. We need you.
Cut that.
Adam, do you want to apologize to the patrons real quick, Adam, for what you said?
I'm sorry.
Aw, Adam loves the patrons.
Thank you.
That's so sad.
Adam loves the patrons.
Adam's apologizing in character and out of character this episode. Good job, Adam. All right. Well, let's read a couple comments we've seen online.
Where
Good
Oh,
idea about
Ryan.
the show.
They
Or
are
just
about the
random-
show. Very
Oh, good.
funny. No, I'm not just reading random comments on the internet about anything. It's about the show.
One day.
This time, I would like to read an Apple Podcast review we received the other day. By the way, I love Apple Podcast reviews. Would you, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, would you write us one?
I'm listening.
And would you give us 5 stars, please? I mean, you don't have to give us 5 stars, but I would prefer if you did. Would anyone?
Yeah.
Do you guys have a
It'd
preference?
be better than 1 star.
That's my
It would
preference
be.
too.
It would be
Certainly.
better than 1. Yeah, and we love reading them. They're really encouraging. We share them with each other, and then we're going to read one right now that we saw the other day. And this one is from Tadpole 9090, and they said, "Great homebrew podcast," and that's it. No, I'm just kidding. They wrote other stuff. That's the title of it. And they said, "This show is absolutely amazing. The music and sound effects just push it over the top. It is so hard to find a homebrew, especially one with a story that makes me excited to find out what's coming next."
Whoa.
Thank
Hey.
you so much for doing this, GM Zach and all of Digsby's crew. By the way, I don't think
That's us.
there's any plot armor, and that anybody who thinks that is just looking for the bad. Yeah, we do have
Yeah.
an Apple Podcast review
Yeah.
saying we have plot armor. I don't really know what episode that was in response to, but we don't need to respond because Tadpole 90 did.
Right.
Anyways.
Validated us already.
Yeah, we're like, thank you. Yeah, well, anyway, that's just a really nice, that's a nice review. I'm glad you're excited for each episode. I'm glad you're enjoying the Homebrew show. Yeah, that's nice. Isn't that nice to hear, guys? Don't you guys like
That's a
doing
good
stuff
one.
like that?
That's super
That's
nice. I feel
nice.
validated.
Yeah.
I
mean,
can't wait
it's
until
kinda-
season 5 when we get a comment from Frog90.
Yeah, and he's
Yeah.
evolved.
To show that time has passed.
Especially because that's not even his name.
What
That's me
level-
butchering the name.
Oh.
What level does Tadpole evolve to frog?
Getting a review written by a sentient tadpole
I don't
makes me
know.
even more upset at the non-tadpole listeners on Apple Podcasts that haven't written a review. If a tadpole can do it,
yeah.
Yeah.
like, I'm pretty
Maybe he's the
sure
only
you
one
can
that
do
knows how to type.
it. Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah. Tadpoles are known for typing, I guess.
Typepole?
Yeah, type pole.
Crushed
We
it.
should stop.
Cut
we
that,
should
cut
end
that,
this.
cut
We
that,
should
cut that.
stop. This is stupid now. All right, we will
Read
see
another
you next
comment.
time. No, shut up, Ryan.
Okay.
We will see you next time, mortals.
I thought you
That
said you were
was
going to
like
read
the-
a couple.
That was the first
did.
shut up that felt like genuine. I was like, no, shut up.
Shut up, Ryan.
I don't know about the
Bye, mortals.
first.
Bye. If we're still in the recording, I don't know. Bye. See ya.
In the morning. Tell the rest of Digsby's poo, too.
Dang it.
And then tough will crop dust Jules as
What
he
an
leaves.
image. What an immature diss. Just throw a little temper tantrum.
Yeah, tough spot. That one.
How does a robot crop dust? Is it just like dude ass
Uh,
programmed like stinky farts?
He's got fart cartridges in there.
Yeah, it's like
not
perfume
real, but
spray, but yeah,
cartridges.
it's something you have to install to be able to do.
fart. Yeah,
Nobody knows why
Tuna
Tuna did that.
No, Tough definitely did that aftermarket. He's like, I want to crop those people for be dramatic.
Yeah.
All right, well.